Hi friends, Tink here, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be setting off on a DIY excursion and we are going to be making a fringed velvet lampshade. I wanted one of these for my room for so freaking long, and I actually saw this beautiful one on the Oliver Bonas website, but of course, in my luck, A, it's sold out, so good start, and B, super expensive, and I felt like, you know, I'm a little bit handy, a little bit crafty. I feel like I could definitely DIY this. So I have made this monster velvet fringe lampshade for my room, and I'm gonna show you how I did it and how I learned to make a lampshade, which was actually incredibly easy despite being very intimidating. I ended up with this gorgeous lampshade which I'm so proud of. It's incredibly tactile, just kind of want to hug it, but obviously it being tactile doesn't actually matter because it's a lampshade and you're not meant to touch them. Anyway, I made a really nice lampshade and I'm really proud of it, and I'm going to show you how I did it. First things first, this is the fabric that I'm going to be using for my lampshade. This is some lovely velvet that I actually got from eBay. It cost me about £4. It is obviously like a short piece of fabric. I got it as a remnant, but it's absolutely perfect for what I want to do with it, so chuffed with that. I looked at buying new velvet and it's like, it starts at about £30 a metre, which is obviously a lot more expensive. So that's the fabric I'm going to be using. And it's this kind of like deep pink. And then I have this marvellous bright orange fringe, which is going to go along the bottom of my lampshade. I'm also going to be using a make your own lampshade kit that I got from Amazon. I'm going to link in the description. So in the little set that I got is this roll of, it's essentially paper that has a sticky side, and then you take this paper. I'm going to trim it down to size because it's not the perfect size for what I want to do with it, and then you roll it along the fabric, stick it to the fabric, and then you wrap the whole thing up and wrap it around the 2 lampshade rings which also came with the kit. In order to get it looking like the one that I would like, I'm actually going to shorten it, I think probably to about there, but it's got these super handy, this grid on it. So first things first, I'm going to trim the paper and then I'm going to stick it to the fabric. If you fancy making your own lampshade, there's only a few things that you need. It really is super easy. First of all, I would recommend buying this kit that I'm using. Again, I'm going to link that in the description. It made it so simple because everything that I needed was there. The next thing you're obviously going to need is covering. I chose to use fabric, but you can also use like patterned paper, or I guess in theory you could stick things directly onto the back of the paper, but I very definitely wanted a velvet lampshade because I've wanted one for a while. And then additionally, and this isn't with the kit, obviously it's following the Oliver Bonas lampshade that I wanted to try and emulate, I got this fringe. I bought this fringe on Etsy. I'm going to link to the shop that I bought it from. It's really reasonably priced and they're a local seller to me, so yeah. And other than that, all you need is some scissors and a ruler and a little bit of patience, and it really is super simple. The first step is we're going to lay out the fabric on a big old table. Smooth it out. Smoothing. Yep, it's not doing a great job. Okay, and smooth. Keep smoothing it, and okay, it's smooth. Then we're gonna lay out the lining paper. Yeah, there we go. Laying the lining paper. And you just want to make sure, if you're using a pattern fabric, that the grid pattern is running square to the pattern on your fabric. Obviously I'm using velvet, so I could have done it diagonally and it wouldn't have made a difference, but just something to remember if you're using a patterned fabric. And gonna need some weights to stop it from rolling away. Then right at the start, we're going to peel back a bit of the sticky layer, and this is the bit we're going to stick down first, and this kind of anchors the rest of the whole sheet, so make sure you don't move the rest of it while you're sticking this down. So I just trimmed this little bit and then make a little bit of room. Then very slowly work your way along. Again, keep it smooth, and just stick down the first bit of paper. I found it helpful to move a weight to this end straight away because it will want to roll back up, which would be very irritating. Now roll back the whole roll of lining paper back up to the point where you've stuck it down, and then we're going to start peeling back the rest of the sticky side and slowly sticking down the rest of the paper. As you go, you're going to want to roll up the finished section to stop it from bending. This card can bend fairly easily, and then you end up with a dented lampshade, which is not so cute. So in the kit, both edges of the lining paper have this snapback section right at the edge. And obviously because I trimmed mine down to size, I only have this along the top edge. And basically it makes a straight edge for you to trim the fabric down to, and then you break off this extra strip and you have a neat little flap of fabric to finish the lampshade. But if you trim your lining paper like I did, just leave a couple of centimeters of fabric along the bottom of it, along the bottom edge like I'm doing here, and then you can finish it manually. You don't actually need that peel off bit. But as you can see here, if you haven't trimmed it, you just snap that bit and then peel it back, and then you've got a nice uniform width of fabric on the edge. So once I've peeled back this edge piece, you just roll up the finished fabric covering. We're going to want to trim both ends down so there's just a little extra. Again, probably about the same allowance that you left along both of the edges. Roly, 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 roly. Roly, and then I used scissors for the first one, but it was actually much neater when I got out my rotary cutter, and so I used that for the second one, and definitely should have used that for every other straight line that I tried to cut, because velvet it's a pesky little thing to work with. Then we're just going to put a little line of double-sided tape on one end. This came in the kit, so you can seal the whole thing at the end. Then we're just going to roll up this little fruit loop and set it to one side. And get out the two lampshade rings, which make the actual structure. This step is super simple. Just stick double-sided tape all the way around both of the rings, and leave the double-sided bit on there until just before you need it, so you don't get stuck to everything else in the room that you're working in. This bit is definitely the most fiddly. First of all, roll out the fabric so it's kind of flat, and now we're going to stick the rings to the top and the bottom edges. You have to do it simultaneously, and if you get out of sync while you're kind of rolling it along, you have to undo it. I definitely had to do this a couple of times, but Once you get going, it is fairly simple. I think it would have been easier to have another set of hands to help do this, but I made it work. It just took me probably a bit longer. So just slowly roll both rings round, again being really careful not to dent or bend the paper, until you have something that starts to look remarkably like a lampshade. Then you just need to peel back the double-sided tape on the end of the fabric on the outside and stick it gently but firmly to the other part of the fabric to seal the lampshade. Just gotta find those. Oh, can I get the edge? Oh no, keep on stuck. Why is this so difficult? You just oh yeah, okay. Just unpeel it and stick it down. Okay. And again, just be careful not to bend the lampshade when you're smoothing the edge down. For this next bit, the instructions said just to kind of roll and wedge the extra fabric down into the double-sided tape covered rings. But I think maybe because I'm using velvet and the fabric is a bit chonky, this didn't really work. It didn't even stick, like, a little bit, so I whipped out the old glue gun and went around both edges, sticking them down. Then, because the edges weren't all neat and lovely, like in the pictures, I found some old cream ribbon and stuck that down on the top so it looked more polished. Because we don't want this to look like amateur hour, it's a fancy lampshade. Next up is the fringe. It came with this thread along the bottom to keep its shape while shipping, and I'm not gonna lie, this was the most satisfying thing to unravel. Just bloop. So fun. So fun. Okay, finally done. To attach the fringe, I slowly went round the inside of the bottom ring and glued it down. My tip would be to not be too enthusiastic with the glue gun, as it could show through on the other side of the shade if you kind of put a big blob and then smush it. Plus the fringe isn't heavy or anything, so it doesn't need much anyway. And that's it. You've made a super cool, snazzy, fabulous,
talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping
fringed velvet lampshade. This was such a fun and easy project, and I love the end result so freaking much. I love it. I just want to hug this lampshade. It's so cozy. Oh, I love it. So there you have it. That is how I made this velvet fringe lampshade. If you made your own one, please let me know and tag me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever on the internet you choose to share your own velvet fringed lovely things. Hope that you enjoyed this process. This is part of a new series here on YouTube called Making It Up As I Go. I'm going to be making stuff and I'm going to be figuring it out as I go along and bringing you guys along on the process. Hope that sounds fun. Making stuff is always fun for me, and hopefully I'm going to end up with more things like this. Maybe my next project should be a giant hat. Maybe not. Okay, bye.